Forgot to add myself to the stage. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Submission Fishing live podcast. How's everybody doing today? Glad you could join us. What's going on, everybody? Instagram. We're going live on YouTube if you want to join us. Check us out. YouTube, Instagram channel. We got the live chat going on there. Hopefully, y'all doing well. Give it a little bit, wait for some people to roll in. Benji, Tom Cod Moreno. Oos, what's going on, man? He says, the weather's getting warmer. It's almost summertime. Can't wait for the 180-degree weather. Yeah, man, that's some great weather out there. Sammy from Oos, what's going on? Driftwood Fishing 760 Oos. Fishing Reps in the house. The Taco King, the Carnitas Taco Man. What's going on, Kevin? Glad you could join us. What's going on, guys? Everybody on Instagram, glad you could join us. Just letting you know we're going live on YouTube. Just giving it a few minutes to fill in. We got some good stuff to go over. Big Water React. What's going on, man? Lalo Fish Oos, what's going on? Good to see you guys. It's what's new with everybody out there. We got a good show today. We're going to talk about some the California rock fishing regulations. We're going to go over some of those changes. See what's changed from last year. There's some significant changes you guys got to be familiar with too. So we'll go over those. Some that I don't think are very good, to be honest with you, but we'll see. We'll let you guys be the judge. They do affect us though, even though I'm in Florida. We'll go over how the rockfish regulations are affecting us for sure. What's going on, guys? Instagram. We're on YouTube. If you want to join us, I'll sign off here in a little bit. Just doing the live show. Waiting for some people to roll in here. Twisted said, when is the restock? The restock is soon. They'll be here in 3 days. So we will have the new restock in 3 days. So they'll go up. Maybe not even 3 days, I think. What day is it? It's Thursday. It's supposed to come in Saturday. We have an order, and then they'll probably be listed by Monday, so we should be good. And then after this one, we'll have another big order coming in at the end of April, like a real huge order. So we should have enough to get us through. I got to restock a lot of the tackle stores, and then we'll put them up for sale, what we got, and then we'll have the big drop coming with the new color as well. Big Water says, I got my Black Pack Pro in the mail today. Yeah, that thing's pretty sick, dude. I've been looking at those. So not much, brother. Damn rockfish changes. Yeah, we're going to go over those. Brian likes to fish. What's going on, man? What's going on, guys? Instagram, if you want to join us, we're going to be over here on YouTube. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. What's a rockfish? Yeah, Brian doesn't know what rockfish are. Spotties only. That man is the most dedicated spotty. I thought you were moving to Kansas, though. Weren't you selling all your stuff? Selling all your boat, moving on? Going to go be a hardcore Chiefs fan. Sammy says, send me the full set of sumos. I need some micro sumos and the 20-gram sumos. Big one. Yeah, we got plenty of the 20s, but yeah, we got the micros coming in. Definitely need some 10 grams. Awesome. 10-4. I really want some slow bitch jigs. Yeah, man, we got you covered. We've got plenty of the other ones, I know, but everybody wants like the 10 and 15s are definitely the hot ticket. But we've got all the other sizes which work equally as well. Which is funny because we didn't even start with the 10 and 15s. The smallest one that I used to make was 20 grams, and we went out there and smashed it on the 20 all the time. But got to give the people what they want, and the 10 and 15s is what they want. Real time fishing. Oos, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. You have April Fool's joke. You had me for a few seconds, but then I caught on. Roger Stern says he needs a refill live from Dana. Yeah, man. We got an order for you guys coming. I know you guys put in an order, I think just recently. So we've got the refill coming in. You should have that within the next week. You guys will be good to go. Driftwood City rips them on the 20s. Yeah, I was always a 20 guy myself, but I tend to fish a little heavier. I fish 200 grams on Rex. I've been throwing 130 grams at the bait barge for sand bass, 600 gram for rockfish. I don't know. I always had success throwing bigger jigs, but 10 and 15 are legit for sure. Roger Sturd. We need more 20. We got plenty of 20. Yeah, we'll send them. We got your order. Roger from Dana Landing in the house. They've been a big supporter of ours. I really appreciate you guys at Dana. Dana Landing's the best. Big Water says, I like the sumo for the docks and the assassin for the bait barge. Nice. All right, guys. So we'll go ahead and get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Submission Fishing Live podcast. I'm your host, Muto. Glad you could join us. We got a good show for you guys today. We're going to talk about some rockfish regulations that are coming up. We got news stories for you, of course. We got some announcements and, Instagram questions, anything that comes in, we'll be happy to answer as well. And if you guys have any questions in the live chat, go ahead and let me know. Hopefully you're all doing good. Yesterday, or not yesterday, last show we had, I don't know if you guys got it, but it was not a live show last week. We had Nick Wickwicki on from BD Outdoors, and he also works at Pacific Coast Bait and Cast Tackle. He had a really good show. He's been a contributor there for a while, and now he's with him officially, doing a lot of articles with them, and it was a good show. I'm glad he can come on. I fished with him. Young guy, but it's awesome. Roger Stern DFA, I fish submission only. My man, that's what I'm talking about. That's my kind of guy right there. Doc Stalker, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Yeah, so let's check out some news stories. Like always, these come from my man, Captain Dan. He's always got the stories, man, even though they're just from the official site, but he catches them for us. So I appreciate you, Captain Dan. The myth, the man, the legend. This was another person busted. Last week we talked about those fishermen caught in the commercial fishing ring where they were basically recreational fishermen were catching and selling illegally. So they were recreational fishermen selling their catches to like a commercial guy, and then he was out there selling them. And it was they got busted, and lots of big fines were going on. What's going on, guys? And we got another one. Looks like Fish and Game Commission revokes the commercial fishing license and lobster privileges of somebody. This was the California Fish and Game Commission has permanently revoked the commercial fishing license and lobster operator permit of the Los Angeles County resident during its exclusive session or executive session, February 15, 2024, the California Fish and Game Commission voted to adopt the recommendation of the California Fish Department of Wildlife to permanently revoke the commercial fishing license of lobster operator permit of Rustin Craig Wilson, 40 of Lawndale. They got you, man. The commission's actions followed a 3-day hearing on November 23rd before an administrative law judge heard the testimony of both sides. Regarding Wilson's history of violations of the commercial lobster fishery. I think I read about this guy where it's like for years he just like he was leaving traps, like he was supposed to pick up traps and didn't pick them up or something. CDFW outlined 18 cases of discipline in addition to aggravating factors. Wildlife officers recounted multiple incidents and documented violations that include fishing in the state marine. So he was fishing in the MPAs, not servicing traps at the required intervals, leaving lobster traps in the water in the closed season. I think that's what I was reading. Failing to retrieve closed and baited lobster traps from the water. So yeah, that guy got the banhammer, which is interesting because I think this is the first time I've seen someone outright get their license just straight up revoked. Normally, it seems like what happens is people get a fat fine and then they're usually able to go, but it's what's going on, guys, Instagram. But I feel like they've had enough of this guy's shenanigans is what it looks like. I guess one too many times. I think this guy's been in trouble quite a few times though, so they finally just got rid of him. Yeah, he does have a long history. It's been years. Like I remember reading this guy had like a ton of violations, so I guess the fines were just too much. But that's what's crazy. You know what's interesting about the lobster pot thing? And I don't know if they do this in California, but I was just reading because I was looking up crab fishing out here in Florida in Jacksonville because I was going to throw some crab pots out my backyard, and there was no closures, but there is closures, but they were like every other year. And the reason they have the closures is they alternate, I guess, the Gulf. I don't know if it's the Gulf Coast but there's sections of, so it's like it's not every year, but every other year there's like half a month where they close down the crab fishery. And the reason they do this is because they pick up abandoned pots. So what they do is they cut it off, and you can't have any pots in the water, because if they are, they just take them, they confiscate them because they assume that they're abandoned. So this is their way of doing it. So every other year, they take about a half month where there's no crab fishing, and you have to remove all your pots. So any pots that are left, buoys or anything, they take them out, and that's how they actually get rid of abandoned pots and stuff. At least out here in Florida. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know if that's a California thing or not. I haven't really heard of it, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting. What's going on, guys, on Instagram? Hit us up on YouTube if you want to join the show, watch the slides and all that stuff. Come check it out. The other news story, and this one is actually, let me pull it up here. This is a really interesting one that I did not know, but this is actually a Florida thing, and I'll tell you how this relates to California as well. The So coming up on the ballot, you guys know it's the election year. There's actually the Florida Amendment 2 is the right to fish and hunt amendment. So this is a 2024 thing. So I didn't know this. So all you guys, you Florida fishermen out there, want to vote on this thing. What the amendment do is basically the ballot measure would provide a state constitutional right to hunt and fish, and declare the hunting and fishing are the preferred means of responsibly managing and controlling fish and wildlife, and shall be preserved forever as a public right. The amendment would not limit the fish and wildlife conservation constitutional powers under Article 4, Section 9. Yeah, and I always thought this was part of the state constitution, but I guess it's not. As of 2023, a total of 23 states had constitutional provisions that protected the right to hunt and fish. The rights was first constitutionalized by Vermont in 1777. Wow, just a year after the birth. With 22 additional states following suit, starting with Alabama. So they didn't follow suit until 1996. The most recent state to adopt the amendment was Utah, where it was approved by 75% of voters in 2020. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out. So they're basically trying to enshrine it in the Constitution that you basically have a constitutional protected right in Florida to fish and hunt. And then, of course, the people against it, like the only people against it are like the environmentalists. It's basically like PETA and stuff like that. There was no like real, what was I saying? No real like logical arguments against it. And what's interesting is, so I was looking up states, and Florida is not one of the states, but California was actually in there, and apparently California had it written in its constitution. Now, California, for those of you guys that do know, like California is it's like one of the newer states. Most of the Western states are over here on the East Coast. Obviously, it was the original 13 colonies, and then it was the original 13 states, and then they kind of moved from east to west. California was, they weren't one of the OGs. They came around like 100 years later or something like that. And it was already enshrined in their constitution, except with the caveat that they don't have hunting is not part of it. So they're trying to enshrine the fishing and hunting in the Florida one. And what was that, like 22 other states or something had it as well. There's some states that don't have any in the constitution, Florida being one of them. But yeah, I was surprised to see California actually was, but only fishing. And there was one other one that was fishing and not hunting as well, but I don't remember what state it was. But yeah, so I just thought that was pretty cool. I guess you guys got nothing to worry about over there. Graham, what's going on, man? Not much, dude. Just doing the live over on YouTube. If you want to come hit us up, come find us on here. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Fishing rep said that's important to remove any attempt to bring the 30 by 30. Yeah, it is. Most states are doing this. Yeah, a lot of states have already done it. Obviously, the Republican leaning states have pretty much all done it. Like Miami, or not Miami, Montana, Wyoming, Texas, they were already on board. Yeah, but California, they've already got the fishing. It's already in there. That was surprising to me too. So that actually might be, although that's something that I haven't seen brought up, and that would be a good argument to use against the 30 for 30 in California. I think that's some firepower, something we don't really talk about, but I definitely would like to see something like that used. If it's in the Constitution, California Constitution, that we have a right to fish, then I think that's something that should definitely be certainly looked at. Tell me what you guys think about that. And then we have announcements. What's going on, guys? Instagram. I'm going to sign off here real quick. If you guys want to join us on YouTube, check out Submission Fishing on YouTube. But I'm going to hop off now. Later, guys. Yeah, so other announcements. We have the Submission at Sea is now live, guys. So we're doing a 2-day trip on the Voyager. We've done this trip every year since we've pretty much been in company. This is the third one. We're going to do a 2-day. Traditionally, we've done 1-day trips. So if you guys are listening to this and you want to join, you go to submissionfishing.com. You can find the Submission at Sea tab. It's $875. It's a 2-day trip. Your meals are included. The fishing, obviously. The only thing that's not included are like your licenses. So you probably need a license, maybe a Mexican fishing license. We're not sure if we're going to go there. It's still a long ways away. It's in October 24th. Um, and then we'll return the 25th. So our goal is to go to the 60-mile bank and do some deep rockfish fishing and bluefin fishing, kind of alternating through the day and the night. Limited spots, guys. We only have 16 spots available. And if you want to choose your bunk, the bunks, when you go to the Submission Fishing page and the Submission at Sea, you'll see the bunks listed. There's a bunk map, and we kind of have the tickets label already attached to the bunk. So when you buy your ticket, you're basically going to buy your bunk number. So look at the bunk map. If it's available, you'll see it in the ticket things. If you look at the bunk map and it's not available, it means that somebody's already bought that bunk. So some of them already gone. People are already buying them. Is still a long ways away. You can do just a down payment in Shopify, and then you can make a payment, or I don't know if you can do multiple payments, but I know you can definitely split it in half if you don't want to pay the whole thing. But it would be due later on. So that's a 2-day trip in October. Should be fun. Submission at Sea. It's the first one we're doing. That's a multi-day trip, and it should be cool. So if you guys want to fish with me, fish with a lot of these guys in chat, come join us. Again, it's pretty exclusive, pretty small group. But yeah, we give jigs. I'll make we don't know if we're going to do custom shirts or hats, something like that. Usually we have raffles, and all that good stuff. So should be a good time. And that is live. So if you guys want to get your tickets, don't wait. There's not many spots. I know it's not a super accessible trip because it's not like a day trip for a few $100. It's a little more expensive, but should be a trip of a lifetime, and should be a lot of fun. So if you guys are into that, check it out. Submission at Sea on the page, submissionfishing.com. Captain Dan just made it on. Carlsbad. Oos, what's going on, Captain Dan? Just read that story you gave us about the lobster guy. That's crazy. Captain Dan's always on the watch. Graham, what's up, guys? Greetings from Pennsylvania. Out here with the wife for her high school reunion. Oh, that's crazy, dude. That's cool. So you're on the same time zone as me right now. Current Jam, what's going on, man? Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, we're good. Current Jam said, would you happen to have any videos on how you got into making lures and what that process looks like? I don't. I definitely could. I can, go through the process and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's fun. Maybe I'll do something like that. Yeah, it's gonna be an incredible trip. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a good trip, dude. I'm excited to see who's going. It's gonna be sick. If you guys haven't done a multi-day trip, man, it's super fun. It's a lot of fishing. You got to be hardcore to do it for sure. I mean, we fish all day, we fish all night. You just kind of sleep in between when you can. I'm really excited to get on some of those big rockfish too. The other last announcement before we get into it, the jigs should be on sale early next week. I know I get legit probably like dozens of people. I mean, at least a couple times a day, people are asking me on Instagram like when the jig is going to be on. The delivery is scheduled for Saturday. So we've got all the small ones coming in. We got a restock, and so I'm got to restock a lot of the tackle stores. They've got back orders, so we're sending out a ton of jigs to the tackle stores. Once they're restocked, we'll put the remainder of stuff online. Probably I say around Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to try to get it done Monday. And then later this month, we got the granddaddy order coming in of more stuff. mostly of the 10 and 15 gram jigs, and then we're doing some refills of like the 20s and all that. And then we have the new color coming in at the end of April as well. So um, we've got a pretty good amount coming. If they do sell out, like I said, don't worry, we've got another huge order. My goal is to like not run out of product this year. Like that's been the goal. So we've got a whole bunch coming in, and then we've got a ton coming in on the next shipment. But there should be some to go around. So once I fulfill tackle shop orders, so look at that, guys. Early next week, I'll do an announcement on Instagram, obviously. But if you guys just keep watching the page, you can might get in there once it goes live, and then I'll probably announce it on email too. So if you guys aren't on our email list, definitely do that, because a lot of times when we do sales and the announcement for submission at sea and the jerseys and all that stuff that we have going on, we usually roll it out to the what is it, like the email first, and then usually I'll talk about it on here. Then I'll do like an Instagram post to let everybody know what's going on. But should be good. Ryan likes to fish is one of the XL shirts coming in. We've got the Don't Tread on Angler XLs. Did I give you one of those? I don't know if you don't want those. We do have the other ones, but you order them and then they're shipped from a third party. The first run we had, they were like we bought them all and we brought them in, but you can still get them. We'll probably do another shipment of that where we have them made and then sell them, but you can still get them from I don't know if it's like Printful or somebody, like you buy them from us, but it's better if we buy them because we really don't make anything on the ones that are like shipped for us, but at least they're available for people that want them. So we do that. I know it's a ways out. Any chance the trip we'll get into Wahoo waters? Well, I mean, we're going far. I don't know. I haven't seen Wahoo, in so long. That all depends on what the water does. Um, if we go out to the 60 mile, I don't think there's Wahoo quite that close. Not in SoCal. Driftwood Fishing says sleep. What's sleep? Yeah, on those boats, man, it's tough. Usually I just go down and then I sleep. And then once I hear like the motor kick off, I just hop out of bed real quick and run to the deck. It's crazy. It is possible. Yeah, it could happen. You never know. Year by year, anything could definitely happen. So maybe if they're there, I mean, we'll definitely make a run for them. That would be pretty sick. So, Suspicion to see, guys, get your tickets while you can. And then, all right, guys, let's get into this. Some of the rockfish changes that you need to know. There's been some significant changes, and we're going to kind of go over them and talk about them a little bit so you guys understand what we're getting into. So, this just came out. This was March 22nd or March 27th, 2024. Yesterday, the California Fish and Game Commission unanimously approved changes for the 2024 groundfish season opening dates, fishing depths, and bag limits in 2023. Most groundfish seasons offshore of California were cut due to exceeding federal catch limits of quillback rockfish. And now a federally declared overfished species, the new changes provide additional fishing opportunities compared to 2023, but come with new requirements that anglers need to be aware of. The new regulations are anticipated to be effect in early April. The measures adopted by the Commission will work in combination with regulations for federal waters and serve to largely avoid quillback rockfish in the primary depth range between 20 fathoms, which is 120 feet. If you guys don't know, a fathom is basically 6 feet. So whenever you hear the number 20, just multiply it by 6. 120 or 50 fathoms is 300 feet. So that's off the coast of Central California. One key element of the new regulations is the availability of new waypoints that define the 20 fathom boundary line, which allows fishing to occur only shoreward of this line. With several groundfish management areas, 20 fathom or 50 fathom inshore fishery will take place during the 2024 season. So the 20 fathom mark is new. Last year we had only the 50 fathom. Now the 20 fathom doesn't really affect us here in Southern California. That's mostly for Northern and Central California. And we can go over. Let's see if we can find it. So the fathom line is basically it's like it's sort of like an imaginary line that exists on the coast. And so when they say the 20 fathom line, they're saying that you can only fish from this line. So 20 fathoms and then 50 fathoms is a line, kind of like an imaginary line. There's waypoints that you can get from the fishing game that basically detail it. The 50 fathoms is what we had last year, but now they've added a 20 fathom, which brings the line closer to the shore. So when they say 20 fathom and westward, meaning you can fish 20 fathom, or they don't say westward, I'm sorry, 20 fathom inward. So it means you can fish the 20 fathoms towards the coast. Alternately, during months when there's offshore only fishery, fishing for ground fish will only be allowed seaward of the 50 fathom boundary line, and only shelf and rockfish and lingcod can be retained. Taking possession of nearshore rockfish, cabezon, greenlings are prohibited during the offshore fishery. Divers and shore-based anglers will continue to be exempt. So if you're a diver or you're fishing from shore, you can still catch any fish. That doesn't really matter. The commission approved descending devices, so we'll get into that. And then there's some limits. So let's see here. So here's what's kind of wacky is that, so last year we had basically you could fish, it was April 1st, so they cut it, right? It used to be March, so it was April 1st, and then I think it was till the end of, you could fish all depths until it was, I think, September. It was like September 15th or sometime in September, they cut off the nearshore rockfish. So then you could only fish outward or westward of the 50 fathom line. And basically the inshore stuff, anything towards the coast of the 50 fathom line was off limits. So this is what they've changed, and this is where it gets nutty, and this is what you guys have to really understand, is that they added a whole bunch of craziness. So if you're in northern Mendocino, San Francisco, in the central areas, so this is mostly Southern California or Central California north. So from January 1st to January 31st, it's closed, right? Fisheries closed. That's really nothing new. Now, from April 1st through April 30th, you can only fish for offshore fishermen. All the near store stuff you cannot fish. There is no all depths fishery anymore in northern and central California. Now, for May 30th, you can fish the 20 fathom inshore fishery. So you can only fish the 20 fathom line inshore, no offshore fishing. Then in October 1st or October 31st, you can go back offshore westward of the 50 fathom mark and you can fish offshore. Then November 1st through November 30th, you can go back to the inshore fishery. And then December 1st through December 31st, you can only fish the offshore. So they're keeping it open, but you really have to pay attention about which fish you can actually catch. Because when you're fishing on the 50 fathoms offshore, you can only catch the slope and shelf rockfish. You cannot catch any nearshore rockfish. They're off limits. And you notice what they're trying to do. They're leaving that 40 to 30 fathom line open. What they're really worried about is the quillback rockfish. And that's what they're trying to protect. So they're kind of limiting the zone. So while you can fish all year, you literally have to fish back and forth if you're in central north. It's absolutely like it's insane. Now, luckily, most of you guys are in Southern California and it's a little easier, but it's still kind of stupid. So January 1st through March 31st closed, right? We know that. Now, through April 1st through June 30th, you can fish all depths. So this is what they implemented in 2023. You can fish anywhere, near shore, offshore. There are no fathom lines. There's really nowhere you can't fish for rockfish. However, once you hit July 1st, you can only, now this is where they do that same BS that just is confusing. So after July 30th, so July 1st through September 30th, you have to fish inside the 50 fathom inshore line. So there is no 20 fathom line. So it's not as short. It's a little longer, but between the 50 fathom line inshore, you can fish inshore fishing. But here's the thing. You cannot fish offshore from July to September 30th, which is just asinine. So last year they gave us offshore in Southern California from when it opened all the way till the end of the season. And they only closed the near shore at the end of the year. This year, they're closing off the offshore from July 1st to September 30th, which is just, it's really insane. So you guys have to be very careful which dates you're going and fishing. Then October 1st through December 31st, they open it up to offshore. Now you can fish offshore for the slope and shelf rockfish, but you cannot keep any nearshore, inshore rockfish. So they're closing it. And this is kind of how it was last year. Like at September, they closed it, but now it stays closed, but they're opening it up for the offshore. So it's really confusing. You can fish all depths till the 30th. And then from July to September, you can't fish offshore rockfish. But then October through December 31st, you can resume fishing offshore. I mean, this is just like, this is the silliest thing I've ever seen. Now, what I don't like about this is like these regulations, right? The season just opened in April, and like they drop this on you like just right away. You know, and how many people are paying attention to this and reading this? Now, the good thing is our trip is in October, and we're going fishing offshore. So we luckily, now I didn't think about this when I signed up, but the submission at sea, the charter that we're doing, we will be good to fish the big rockfish because our trip is in October. So I originally was going to plan it, you know, that July, August, September date, but we would have never been able to fish rockfish. So we actually got really lucky by booking it, you know, the October 24th through the 25th, because 5th, because now we'll legally still be able to go out there and crush the big rockfish offshore. So you guys just got to be really aware of that when you can fish. So you're good till June 30th, but then after that, no, which it's just a shame. So like, I don't know what they're going to do. Like you can't have, we were doing rockfish tournaments last year, you know, and if you do them July through September and you can't even fish offshore now for rockfish, it's like, you just got to go for this small stuff inshore. It's just really a mess. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, they explain what they're thinking. They're trying to protect the quillback, but I still don't know why they alternated the inshore and offshore in Southern California. We don't even really get the quillbacks down in Southern California. Maybe Central California, that kind of makes sense, but it's just nuts, man. So good luck with that. You guys fishing in California, man. It's just, what a mess. Like what an absolute mess. It's got to be like the stupidest people on planet Earth are writing this legislation. So anyways, the aside from that, you have to have descending devices are now required on your boat. Prior to this 2024 changes, you did not need a descending device. It was always encouraged, and they had the wording that, you know, we encourage everybody to have a descending device, but it was never actually the law. Now you will be required to have a descending device on your boat to take care of fish that have barotrauma. For those of you guys that don't know, you know what descending devices are, you've got a few options. This is like the sequelizer, and this is like a real fancy one. This is the one that, you know, usually we carry around. And for those of you guys that don't know, the barotrauma is basically when you pull up a fish. If you guys are new to fishing and its bladders come out of its mouth, the sheephead, a lot of times their intestines like blow out of their ass and they get all squiggly. But a lot of these big rockfish and cowcod and stuff like that, when you bring them up, they have what's called barotrauma, and their swim bladders aren't able to keep up as they're coming up, and they fill with air. So now they want you to descend fish. And now descending fish, it does work. I'm not, you know, saying that that's a bad thing. It's just, you got to bring your thing with you now to do it. So where it used to be a suggestion, now it's required. And you got a couple options. And one of the things too, it says it must be accessible on your boat. You just can't have one of these thrown in your tackle box and then like, and if Fish and Game rolls up on you, he's like, hey, do you have a descending device? I don't think it's going to cut it if you're just digging through your bag and being like, oh yeah, hey, I've got one. Like it says it's got to be kind of accessible. So they probably want it. I don't know if it has to be on a rod, but it has to probably be on some line or rigged up some way you can do it. But anyways, this is a sequelizer. This one can be adjusted anywhere from 50 to 150 feet. These ones are pretty sweet, but they're pretty pricey. and you can change the depth basically just by changing this. And you put the weight on here and you put this on the fish lips. And as it goes down, whether how you set it, 50, 150, you know, what is it? 50, 100, and 150 feet, whatever depth you put it at, it'll pop open and it basically releases the fish. Um, and that's like the most expensive option. It's a fancy option. Your second option is to do something like this. These are really cheap. This one I think I got on Amazon. I feel like somewhere was giving these for free, maybe. I know there was like access to them. This is like the Shelton Fish Descender. Um, and this one is really inexpensive. You could probably even make one of these. And this is really the cheaper option, but the same thing kind of applies. You put this down, the spike end on the fish's lip on its lower mouth, and you put the weight on it. And as it goes down, this one's not, it doesn't just open up by itself. It's not as user friendly. So you got to kind of have to count how far the fish is down. And the idea is you just pull up on there's no barbs or anything or hooks, and you yank up on it and it's supposed to let the fish out. So you got to kind of know, how much depth you're putting down, how deep you're going with the fish. So descending devices are now required. They used to just be suggestions. So that is a change you guys have to be aware of. And then the third one, Sammy says Fishing Games sent them out for free. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I kind of feel like I didn't pay for that cheap one, but maybe I did. I think they're pretty inexpensive though on like Amazon. But yeah, I've heard that too. And then lastly is they changed the bag limit. So vermilion rockfish, if you guys know, just as late as 2022, we were able to keep 5 vermilion rockfish. 2023, they cut that down to 4 vermilion rockfish. So they cut it again for 2024. Now, you would think, oh, maybe would they go to 3? No, they cut the 4 in half. So you can only have two vermilion rockfish this year. So last year was 4. You can only take 2 this year. Again, that also sucks because that's really like the best eating fish, one of the best eating rockfish that they have. So that's the third thing, the third change that they've enacted. So descending devices, know which times you can and cannot fish near shore, offshore, or all depths, and make sure you have a descending device. So rock fishing just got a lot more complicated in Southern California. Hopefully that cleared up some of that stuff for you guys. But yeah, it's a mess. It's crazy. Florida's bad also. Yeah. Florida's is pretty terrible too. And honestly, with Florida and California, the problem is it's the same issue, is that it's not Florida, and a lot of it is honestly not California. It's California is. I'll explain this a little bit. The difference is the federal fishery and the state fishery are different. So, like here in Florida, for example, state waters only extend 3 miles off the coast in most places. The Gulf side of Florida is one of the few places where I believe it's 9 miles. Almost everywhere else in the country, it's 3 miles offshore. So when you're going 3 miles offshore in Florida, you're in state waters and the regulations are totally different. Like you can keep snapper as long as they're 20 inches. They're open year round on the Atlantic side, and they have all these different regulations. They have different mahi regulations and all this. But the problem is once you go 3 miles out, you're now in federally controlled waters. And really, state of Florida doesn't have much to say about that. So that's where you get into issues. Like me and Kevin went fishing last Saturday, and we got, I mean, just some huge red snappers, absolute monsters. We caught gag groupers, all these fish that we can't keep. The red snapper season out here in Florida in federal waters, they don't even have dates for it this year. It's 2 days. It was 2 days last year. They let you fish red snappers. 2 days. Think about that. And we catch them all the time. It's sort of like the cow cod in Southern California. Like they act like it's some endangered species, but you can't get rid of them. And and these things are like monsters. If you want the small ones, you can catch the small ones all day. But the problem is you run into federal waters. Now, luckily in Florida, there is this typically state and federal. But the thing with California is that what they do is they pretty much adhere to whatever the federal regulations say. So you can catch a lot of nearshore rockfish, but California doesn't tend to set their own precedent or laws based on the rock fishery. Whatever the federal fishery says, they just adopt as like the California fishery, which is pretty California of them. So, and that's what the problem is, that the federal fishery is the one that are worried about the quillback rockfish. So whenever you're out 3 miles, you're done. You're pretty much you're at the mercy of the federal fishery, and you're outside the state jurisdiction. So that's where it gets really confusing and bad. So yeah, when Kevin says Florida's bad too, it is, and you can't really blame Florida too much, but you can't really do much about the federal waters. It was crazy, the whole federal waters, and then once you go, I don't even know, 200 miles or 300 miles, then it turns into international waters, and then it's a whole nother set of rules in international waters. It's crazy. It was weird too. Is like if you go down in like and you guys know this too in Southern California, like when you go to um, what I'm saying, like Southern Florida, it changes really quick because the federal waters is very small, because then you meet up with the Bahamas, and you guys know the same thing happens in Mexico. Once you go south of San Diego and you're in Mexican waters, all the regulations change. And that's one of the hacks too you can have for rockfish too, is you can go to Mexico and um, start fishing rockfish pretty much all the time. You don't got to worry about it. Yeah, Oregon organization would give them away for free. Not sure what the URL is. Yeah, so I think you guys can get some of these cheaper descending devices for free for what it sounds like. Driftwood fishing says boo. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Martell Park says sounds like it's been overfished. Yeah, I mean that's what they're worried about with the quillback vermilions. Yeah, I don't. It's not necessarily as overfished as that they basically create a quota. And I know for the vermilions is that one thing that I was reading, what they were saying is that they they have so much tonnage or poundage that they calculate, and then once they've met that kind of quotas, they've cut it off, and they think that the basically by giving people 4 per million rockfish, they were going way over what their just 11 million tons, whatever tons they think it is. So they were saying that they were going over the tonnage for a million rockfish, so that's why they had to reduce the bag limits, and that was on the federal side. But they don't really know. Like, listen, the only information they get is based on what fishermen give them. And the way that they get these numbers is that they look at the dock totals for the sport boats, especially in California. They look at sport boat totals, and then they talk to the people that, um, when they come up to you with the clipboards after a fishing trip when you're on a boat or something, and they come by and ask you questions. It's really the same thing. That's where they get their information from. So a lot of it is it's just kind of loose estimations at best. I don't think there's an overfishing problem with the vermilion. I've never like not been able to find vermilions when you want them. Like, there's plenty out there. So yeah, it's crazy. Gonna hurt some inshore charters for sure. Yeah, it's definitely weird. Although, like, I saw the dolphin last year was out there fishing at like the 600-foot depths, when traditionally they would probably be shoreward of the 50 fathom mark. And I think they were pushing out further. So they're just gonna have to adapt. But I don't. Yeah, but what do you do when it's just a half day boat and you can't and you can't fish near shore? You're gonna have to go offshore on a half day boat. Like, I don't know how that's gonna work, or they're just gonna have to fish for something else. But they don't care. I mean, they don't care about people's livelihoods. That's definitely not on the top of fishing game's agenda for sure. Big water yak. Yeah. You're absolutely right. He says I thought there was something about another rockfish species counting towards vermilion. There is, and I'd have to look at it. It was like rare. It was a fish I hadn't heard of. That I don't think it was a canary. So there was another what big water Yak is talking about is there was another fish that they're counting in the aggregate for your vermilion. So if you caught a vermilion and then this other type of fish, I think that looked like a vermilion, they counted that basically as a vermilion. So that was like your two. And I'll have to find out. I'll get some clarification on it, but I definitely did read that as well. And I'll have to. Driftwood Fishing says, do kayakers? Yeah, I mean, if you're fishing rockfish, absolutely, you're gonna need one. And they don't really delineate between kayak fishermen or boat fishermen. So yeah, definitely go get a descending device and have it rigged up too. At least put some line on it and a weight. Even like on a rope. I don't think you have to use up a rod for it, but definitely have one ready to go. Big Water says, how much does that fancy descender cost? I don't remember. Let's see if I can find it. Sequelizer descending device. On Amazon is $60. And then yeah, they got some other different ones for like $20. And this little one that I had, they're selling for like $18, which is I think overpriced. So if you can get one free, maybe look in Call Fish and Wildlife and see if maybe they can hand those out. I mean, obviously these people are happy, right? Like you get a monopoly on fish descenders now, and now that's law, everybody has to buy one. It's like, I guess you can charge whatever you want. Benji Marina says, funny how the government owns the ocean now. Yeah. That's always the fight, man. That's always the fight. I mean, everybody knows fishermen are the most. We want fish to stick around longer than anybody. That's what we eat. That's what we recreation. Just like foresters, you know. Every time they cut down trees, they go back and plant twice as many. So in 10 years, when they go back, they have the forest they can cut down again. Same thing with fishing. It's like good, smart fishermen, let go of the females and the breeders and know how to kind of keep it alive. Let's see. Oh yeah, the phone calls when they ask questions. Driftwood Fishing says 3-day boats eliminating half day or half day mackerel charters. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. It's crazy. Yeah, I've never really gotten the calls. I always get the people walk up to me in my boat afterwards. Fishing Rep says sunset rockfish count as a vermilion. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what a sunset is, but basically you get 2 vermilion, or you get 2 sunset rockfish, or you get 1 vermilion and 1 sunset rockfish, and they're counting them as the same thing. Interesting. Alex the Fisher Dude says, so pretty much I'm not going to go on any half day trips and only 3/4 or full day trips to the islands in hopes of something decent. Keep an eye on the fish count and schedule a bunch of overnight trips. Yeah, at least for some of the year. I mean, you've got a good window. I mean, you've got to like June to kind of go get them, but then you're gonna have to wait. Jeremy, what's going on, man? Better late than never. That's right. That is right. And one thing I saw too, I don't think that this is actually enacted yet, though. It says early April, so I think you guys are still under 2023 rules, because there's something on there that was saying like it still has to be approved, I believe. So you're still actually functioning over the 2023 regulations. So it says the 2024 groundfish season is expected to be reviewed and approved by the Office of Administrative Law and take effect in state waters in early April. The Commission and California Department of Fish and Game staff have worked diligently to expedite the adoption of the state regulations to allow boat-based anglers to get on the water beginning in April. So until the 2024 regulations are approved, the 2023 regulations remain in effect. Once the regulations become effective, The California Fish and Wildlife Summary and Recreational Ground Fishing Regulations page will be updated with the 2024 regulations before fishing anglers should refer to the web page for the season opening regulation. Yeah, so as far as I know, these things actually haven't even gone into effect yet. So um, you're still kind of operating under the 2023 regulations until they push that through, which I expect will be pretty quick. I mean, of course, I don't know why you don't get that done before the fishery starts. Like, you work for the fishing game. I don't know what else you're doing besides talking to councils and getting fishing regulations passed. Like, oh, let's wait till April, yeah, then or March. Let's wait till March 22nd, 27th, and try to push these through, and then like let's just make it more confusing for people. That sounds good. Brian said I had fishing game pull me over once on Highway 8 to check my boat. Really? Of course, I had nothing, but it was weird to be pulled over on the freeway. Yeah, that's really weird. I heard somebody was saying like it's like Fish and Game has a lot more um, authority than like normal officers, right? Like nobody can come into your house unless they've got a warrant. Typically, you know, you're protected by the Fourth Amendment. But apparently, like Fish and Game can come on your boat and stuff. And somebody was saying like when you buy your fishing license, like all that verbiage, and I'll have to verify this for sure. I'm not really sure, but I was reading something like once you're once you like buy a fishing license, you kind of consent to like giving fish and wildlife like access and stuff to your boat and your property and stuff. And that's how they get around, right? Because normally you just be able to say, no, you need a warrant to go search my boat. But apparently, like owning the license kind of gives them the consent to, gives you the consent to them to check out your vessel and stuff like that. So, yeah, those dudes got a lot more power than any old cop does. That's for sure. They can pull you over on the freeway. I thought they had to see you doing something. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know what the freeway thing. Who knows? I definitely have to check into that. That's crazy, man. Driftwood fishing. Fort Vermilion. Yeah, until yes, I think Fort Vermilion until uh the 2023. At least in state waters. So the federal might be updated. I wouldn't go offshore. I wouldn't go 3 miles out in federal waters because that might. I feel like those are already enacted, but definitely within the California waters, they have not. Um, at least yet. It could come tomorrow, could come any day, but I think as of like today and yesterday, a 4 for million in the California or state waters would still be a go. It says DFG still needs a warrant to enter your home, but they can trespass on private property whenever they want. Yeah, it's really weird. Jeremy says, does that include the mandatory descending tool on board? That sounds like the case of the Supreme Court where these organizations are allowed to create their own laws. Yeah, that's oh yeah, you're talking about like the Chevron doctrine, right? That's the whole thing. Which is funny you bring that up because the NOAA and a lot of these organizations would fall under the. If you guys don't know, the Chevron doctrine was um, this case being taken up by the Supreme Court. I did a whole show on it a couple months ago about how these fishermen are suing the government. It's just because it basically it lets um, the executive branch of the government create organizations, but then they get to make their own laws and everything. And basically, they're arguing it bypasses the whole democratic process of having bills voted on by Congress and the House and everything. So they basically, the executive branch forms these organizations, but then the court said, oh, well, you guys are supposed to be experts, so you can make your own laws about all these things. And they did some hearing on the Chevron doctrine, some fishermen. So if that gets overturned, it went to the Supreme Court, by the way. So if it goes to the Supreme Court and it gets overturned, yeah, a lot of this stuff is going to go, it's going to get wacky pretty quick. I've been looking for updates on it. I haven't seen anything yet, but that's going to be a big decision for sure. But yeah, that's kind of exactly what happens is there is no, there is no oversight. There's no people voting on it. Like the people that vote on it are within the council that are put in by themselves. It's like the watchmen watching the watchmen, there's no representative from the people that are out there electing people on boards and having it voted on. yeah, completely. I mean, tyrannical if you ask me, but we'll see what happens. It's crazy. All right. Let me see what else I had here. I think that was it as far as announcements and everything else. Let's check out the Instagram questions. Looks like I only had the one question from Drift. He asked a doozy. He wanted to know. Let me see if I had any more here. Oh, there was a. Oh, Big Water asked one. Driftwood Fishing 760 asked, always the question, fluoro or mono. Man, that's the question of all fishermen for all ages. I've always been I was a fluoro guy for a long time. I always fished the Seagar like a lot of you guys did. And then I've talked about it a lot on the show. I switched over to mono, um, and not had any ill effects of it. The argument with fluorocarbon is that it doesn't refracts light differently, and it's harder to see for fish. For slow pitch jigging, I haven't really seen that to be the case. Mono is definitely more abrasion resistance um, than fluorocarbon has been. And doing slow pitch jigging, you're usually typically working on a reaction bite, and I haven't seen any real drop off on fishing mono. So I switched to mono a couple years ago, and I've only pretty much fished that a lot. People swear by fluorocarbon. Recently though, I will say just a disclaimer: I got the guys from Opsin. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but they did give this stuff to me for free. Um, they handed this to me at the PCS show, and we were fishing this. Um, Kevin's representing them now with fishing reps, and this guy, the guy from Opsin, gave me a bunch, and we fished it this weekend, and it was pretty good. I'll have to test it some more, and we'll see, how it goes. So this was definitely given to me. I didn't pay for it, but I did have a gag grouper, big monster one, took me into the wreck, and it came out, and the line was pretty frayed up, but it held on. I mean, this was probably a 20-pound grouper, and it was a really big fish, and it was in the wreck, and we got it out, and the fluorocarbon held. So we'll give this stuff a shot and see how it goes. It's got a slow extrusion technology. It was supposed to make it a little better, but yeah, we'll see. I say fish whatever works. I've always been a mono guy myself. Actually, not I haven't always been, like, last couple of years, and I haven't seen a drop off. I fly lined. People like tell me, oh, you need mono or you need fluorocarbon when you're fishing tuna, and because their eyesight's so good. And I caught plenty of tuna fly lining with monofilament, big bluefin fly lining baits. I haven't really seen a drop off, but people swear by the fluorocarbon, maybe in freshwater and fly lining. Rockfish, I don't really think you need it. They can't see that deep anyways. Like, the water's so dark and murky. Fishing at night, obviously, I don't think it matters. But yeah, we'll test this stuff out. Maybe Opsin will change my mind, and I'll switch back to a pure fluoro guy. But we'll see what happens. In a lot of situations, I don't know if it's necessary. We had summertime outdoors on. He swears by it. He said he always fishes fluorocarbon when he's fishing tarpon and stuff. Again, that's sort of like a top water thing. So I think whatever you want to fish. Big water access fluoro. We investigate ourselves. Yeah, that's the story of the government, dude. Driftwood says mono is my go-to. Also, just watch out for that 7-year. Yeah. So what Brian's talking about, he says, watch out for that 7-year mono on the 1,000-yard roll. So the thing with mono is that um, it does decay. It's like a nylon, um, and there is a life on it. So when you've got, you buy that 1,000-foot roll of monofilament for like $20, and it lasts you 7 years, and you still got half a roll left, especially if it's like left out in the sun. Mono, it will get old, it'll age, it can get brittle. I'm pretty sure fluoro does too, but fluoro is just mixed with a carbon. That's what it is. It's like a fluorocarbon, so they just add carbon to it. So it takes on less water, sinks faster, and refracts light differently. That's supposed to be really the difference. But I think the fluoro can get brittle too and kind of ruined in the sun. So, but the rolls are usually so small, you go through them so quick. That's why I don't think it's ever really been a problem with fluorocarbon, because I mean, the price it's like much more expensive, and you get that 25-yard roll. I mean, whoever has that for multiple years, usually you go through that like within a couple months or something like that. Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. Brian did a little case on the Fishy Hour show where he went over he did a whole test with the mono and fluorocarbon, and at least for abrasion resistance, the mono was like far and away stronger than the fluorocarbon was. Martel says, "Man, at least y'all can fish the ocean. The Great Lakes blow ass. Haven't fished in months because the cold as balls. Yeah, that's brutal." Would you move? You were down to San Diego, right, for a while. Packed up and headed back north. There's some good fish up there. I mean, there's some big lake fish. It's surprising how freshwater fish get as big as they do. What do they fish up there? The cow fishes for them. I don't remember anymore. What's that big? Not the sturgeon. There's like another big freshwater fish that everybody goes to. He says, "Yeah, I moved to Chicago." And you got the live scope too on your Hobie, right? You got that fish finder. That's pretty awesome. Benji Moreno with the $10 super sticker. Muskie. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's a big deal up there. Thank you for the $10. Appreciate it, Benji. You're the man. Might want to save that money though for the AC bill and bullhead later. Yeah, lake trout are big. Yeah, the freshwater fish, there's no joke. They do get big. All right, guys, roll it up. Really appreciate you. Hopefully you learned something. Again, submission at sea tickets are on sale. Don't wait. 16 spots available. Actually, less than 16 spots now, but definitely get on that if you guys want to go fishing in October. We're going to go after some of those big rockfish, and really appreciate you guys for coming on. We got the big orders coming in, restock the tackle stores and be on sale. And yeah, thanks for posting all the content, guys. I see what you guys out there fishing the jigs like crazy. That's really awesome. You guys are really blowing it up, and thankful for that. And yeah, we'll see you next week, guys. Until then, tight lines. Oos.